You know, another thing about this 4-minute kind of window is that tends to be the time that they give people for deputations down at City Council. If you ever felt like, getting some, practice at your 4-minute speech, there's a range of committees down there that need to hear from people like you. So and this has been just fantastic. Great ideas. Thank you very much, Kristen. Okay, our next contestant. Do you know what he's going to talk about? Do you know what Fix Toronto's about? Oh, it's very, very good. Let's just bring him up here. He can surprise you. David Regan, a man after my feline propensities.
Hi, thanks. Okay, so this past summer, my family spent about a week at a cottage in Essex County. Point Pelee National Park was just down the street, so there were birds all over the place, but there were almost as many cats as birds. 10 lived next door, and a litter of kittens had just been born on the beach. Toward the end of our stay, a tabby showed up at our door, and he wouldn't leave, even though we gave him a veggie sausage and some soy beverage. The couple next door had no more room, and a local cat rescue told us they were already caring for upwards of 150 cats, and that the area humane societies were full. Meanwhile, our temporarily vegan stray was getting bullied by the neighbors, so when it came time for us to pack up, we stuck him in the back seat, and we called him Jeff. All of us were glad to get away from Essex County and back to a place where companion animals are not tossed away like trash. Back in Toronto, however, disillusionment set in pretty fast. Jeff got his balls cut off practically the moment we entered the GTA. Then it turned out that Jeff himself is kind of a bully. He won't stop pestering our other cat. And I came to understand that Toronto has a cat problem as severe as Essex County's. Ours made headlines in November when the OSPCA raided the Toronto Humane Society, at least in part due to the Humane Society's inevitable inability to keep up with our cat problem. At the time of the raid, the Humane Society was housing over 1,000 cats, and our animal services killed about 4 times that many in 2007, which is the last year that data is available for, which is just a bit less than the Windsor-Essex Humane Society killed in the same year. So where are all these cats that we're killing coming from? It's been suggested that anywhere from 100,000 to 500,000 cats live in our backyards, our boatyards, our parks, our alleyways. These cats avoid humans and are most active when we're mostly asleep, so it's impossible to know precisely how many of them are out there. For tonight, let's just say, there's about tens of thousands of them, tens of thousands of little Jeffs. How did they get there? First of all, they're lost or they're abandoned like Jeff was. They had families and then they didn't. Their offspring go wild or feral, and lost, abandoned, or feral, they can reproduce really fast, although they have pretty high mortality rates too. That's the problem then. Tens of thousands of unseen Jeffs living precarious lives in our shadows. I've got good news though, there are solutions. First, a low-cost, high-volume spay-neuter facility. By the time we got Jeff home for good, we'd spent about $500 giving it to our vet. That included vaccinations and tests, but sterilization itself is an expense that many pet owners cannot afford. There's a low-cost facility in Newmarket, there's one in Barrie, there's one in Calgary, and guess who's building one right now? Fucking Essex County. Plus, they're promising they'll stop needlessly killing cats by 2012. Toronto has to catch up. Second, we've got to do something called TNR, Trap, Neuter, Return, on a citywide basis. In a TNR program, homeless cats are trapped, sterilized, then returned to wherever they make their home. And their subsequently dwindling colonies are maintained, too. In fact, when we're done here tonight, I'm going to go feed 13 colonies in the Kensington Market neighborhood. So if it smells like cat food in here, it's my fault, although you probably could have inferred that. That's more good news. A number of our neighbors are already working on this problem using TNR. I volunteer with Annex Cat Rescue, and Toronto Cat Rescue is the biggest such organization in the city. Both rescues also foster then adopt out cats that can be socialized to humans. Toronto Cat Rescue right now has about 250 available, and kitten season is just around the corner. These rescues do wonderful, heroic work, but it's not enough. They can't solve our cat problem on their own. What's needed now is some political leadership. We need someone who can bring together the human stakeholders to coordinate a long-term solution based on TNR. I don't want to suggest this is going to be easy, but I also don't want to understate the severity of the problem, the urgency of the problem. The people working on the ground to solve this problem call their organizations rescues, and the appellation is not hyperbolic. These cats live in a constant state of emergency. They're hard to see, and they're not eligible to vote, but they nevertheless have interests that are often quite similar to our own. They want to live in a city that is safe, and they want to be able to stay healthy. What I want is to live in a city that's brave and compassionate enough to try to take the interests of all of its denizens, human and non-human, into account. Thanks for hearing me out.